Hello again everybody, and welcome to What's New in iOS 18, a video tutorial from the MacU.com. Within these lessons, you'll learn how to use the significant new features and updates coming to Apple iPhone and iPad in iOS 18. These lessons will not cover Apple Intelligence, which is going to arrive on certain devices with iOS 18.1. We're going to have a separate Apple Intelligence tutorial covering those specific features. All the topics discussed in this tutorial will apply to any device that iOS 18 can be installed on. There are a couple changes in the Settings app that we need to cover right away. First, your Apple ID is now known as just your Apple account. Within this section is our basic information, a list of our subscriptions, iCloud information, and a list of devices that are associated with our Apple account. Within the iCloud settings, we now have a Saved to iCloud section. This displays all the apps and services that we're able to sync with iCloud, and whether or not they are activated. So those are just a couple changes to remember the next time you head into the Settings app. As usual, iOS 18 is a free upgrade, and it can be installed from Settings, General, and Software Update. With that, let's get started with a look at the new home screen customization options. iOS 18 for iPhone and iPad gives us a lot more flexibility when it comes to where widgets and app icons can be displayed on our home screens and how those icons look. Tap and hold on an app icon or a widget to edit the home screen, and we can move the Music app down into the lower right corner and leave it there. Previously, this wasn't possible, as gaps like this between app icons were not allowed. The icons will still align to a grid pattern, so we can't place them absolutely anywhere. But this can really help with certain wallpapers that might have a subject that's being obscured by icons. In this case, I might want to move these two widgets down to create a gap that will show most of her face. Or we could move all the app icons down to create that same gap. Just start moving one, then tap on all the others to move them along with it. I'll take all 8 of these down a couple rows. When working with widgets, we're now able to resize them directly when editing the home screen. Notice the handles in the lower right corner of each widget. Tap and drag on this to resize the widget. This will all work the same way on iPad. So I could quickly move these widgets to the left side of the home screen and have all the app icons exist on the right side. Folder icons can be moved to different locations on the home screen, just like app icons. But app icons that are within folders can still be rearranged as always, but we're not able to create gaps between app icons and folders, like we can now on a home screen. Tap and hold on a home screen and then tap Edit in the upper left, and then Customize, and we can adjust the size and look of the app icons. Here on the iPhone, select the large setting, and the app icons will lose the app name that's displayed beneath them as they expand in size a little bit. When I first tried this, I thought not being able to see the app names would get confusing. But I quickly realized that the icon is all I need to identify most apps, especially the ones that are here on my home screen and I use most often. I now prefer the look of the larger app icons with no name listed below them. We're also able to switch between light and dark mode here manually. Dark mode will now apply changes to app icons as well. Set this to automatic to have light and dark mode switch with sunrise and sunset. Finally, we can now apply a tinted look to our home screen, which will apply a uniform color to all icons and widgets. Use the sliders below to adjust the tint color and saturation of the selected color. With this deep blue wallpaper that I currently have applied, a desaturated blue for the tint looks pretty good, but results are going to vary on this. We can use the color picker here to select a specific color from the wallpaper to use for our tint. These new options provide nearly infinite possible layouts and looks for home screens on both your iPhone and iPad. We now have the option to lock or hide apps on our iPhone or iPad. When an app is locked, it will still be displayed on the home screen or an app library. But when launched, Face ID, Touch ID, or your passcode is going to be required to open it. So let's start here with the Photos app. Tap and hold on its icon, and then choose Require Face ID. This is going to allow me to lock the app. Now, anytime that it's launched, Face ID or my passcode will be required for it to open. Next, I'm going to find Snapchat here in App Library. Tap and hold on its icon, and again, I'll choose the Require Face ID option. This time, we can lock the app with Face ID or hide the app, which will then require a Face ID scan to show and launch it. The hide option is not available for a lot of built-in apps, such as Photos, FaceTime, and Music. With these, we only have the Require Face ID lock option. But it seems pretty much any third-party app like Threads or Snapchat can be hidden. Doing this will remove the app icon from my home screen. It's placed in a hidden folder that's contained within App Library. A major point to remember when hiding an app is that no notifications will arrive from it. So doing this with a social media messaging app like Snapchat is going to remove a lot of its functionality. I'm going to hide this anyway though, which removes it from the social folder here in App Library. Scroll to the bottom of App Library and we can see the hidden folder. But we can't see anything that's in it until we tap on it and a successful Face ID is performed. Now I can launch Snapchat. So locking an app adds a layer of protection that will prevent someone other than you that might have access to your iPhone or iPad from using a locked app. This can be very helpful in preventing kids from launching banking, shopping, or chat apps while they're supposed to be playing a game or what have you. Hiding an app will make it invisible on your device unless you unlock the hidden folder. But remember, hidden apps will not be able to deliver notifications. To unlock or unhide an app, simply tap and hold on it again and choose Don't Require Face ID. Control Center is getting a major update and gaining a lot of flexibility with iOS 18. We can still access Control Center with a swipe down from the upper right corner of our device. The first change to notice here is that there are now multiple pages available in Control Center. Swipe down here on the iPhone, and we have full screen media playback controls, and then a list of connectivity controls. Over on the iPad, we have an extra page that's showing home app controls, even though I don't have Home Apps set up. Tap and hold, and we're able to edit or remove these pages. So I'll remove this page on the iPad. To add a new page, tap the empty circle here. We can then add any control item from this gallery. Narrow this down with a search. Once iOS 18 is available, third-party apps are going to be able to add Control Center items of their own. So this gallery and the ability to customize your Control Center will become even more important. It will be possible to add up to 15 pages in Control Center. Back on the main Control Center Favorites page, we're able to tap and hold, or tap the Add button up here to edit the controls that are available. We can rearrange these, as well as adjust the size of many controls. Tap and drag on the handle in the lower right of any control, and we're able to expand it to a rectangle or a larger square. Enlarging a control is going to display its name, which can make it easier to find. Notice that our brightness and volume sliders can't be adjusted though. We can also tap the minus button on any control to remove it from this page. And below, we can tap Add a Control, which will jump us back into the Controls gallery and allow us to add controls to this page. In the top right of Control Center, we now have a power button. Long press, and then we get the option to swipe to shut down the device. On our lock screen, we can now swap out the flashlight and camera controls if we want. To do so, tap and hold on your lock screen, tap Customize, and select the lock screen. Here at the bottom, we can now remove the flashlight or camera control and either leave that area blank on the lock screen or replace these with a different control. There are no shortage of options here. We could add a control for the stopwatch, translate app, voice memos, or a ping my watch control. One I find really interesting is the Open App control. This allows us to select any app that's installed on our device. I'll choose Calendar. I'm going to re-add the Camera app control here on the right side. Now with a long press here on the lock screen, I can instantly open the Calendar app. So Control Center now lets us rearrange, resize, add or remove controls. We can also add or remove pages to or from Control Center. Going forward, third-party apps will be able to make controls available in Control Center Gallery that can then be added to our Control Center pages. Next up, we'll look at the new Passwords app. When iOS 18 is installed on an iPhone or iPad, a new Passwords app will be available. This app replaces password and keychain settings, which previously existed under iCloud Settings in the Settings app. From settings in iOS 18, we're now only able to toggle on or off the Synced Passwords option. Everything else is managed from the Passwords app. So if you had any passwords already saved in Keychain, they are automatically moved into the new Passwords app. Within the app, we can see all our saved passwords, or look at some specific categories. We can also search for a specific password or account. When viewing an item, we can see the account information, and with a tap, view or copy the saved password. One of the really helpful things the Password app does is track and alert us of security issues with any of our saved passwords. Here in the security section, I have several passwords that have either been compromised due to a data leak, are too weak, or they've been used as a password too often by me. No matter the reason, it's going to be a good idea to update all of these passwords. We have a Change Password button here that will load the site in a pop-up. But I find that it's typically easier to just go to the site in Safari and change your password from there. This process will of course vary somewhat from site to site. Here on bookbub.com, I just need to enter my old password, which the Passwords app will fill for me. Then select a new password, which can also be created by the Passwords app. That password will then automatically be updated here in the Passwords app. We can also view our shared passwords here. I have one shared group named Family that contains two passwords that are shared with one other person. These shared passwords can be used by any person in the group. There is also a Mac Passwords app in macOS Sequoia that works exactly the same as passwords here on iOS. For more detail on saving, syncing, and managing passwords, take a look at our iCloud and iOS Core Concepts tutorials. The Photos app interface has undergone what I would say is a moderate redesign in iOS 18. When Photos is launched, the library view with our latest images in a grid no longer takes up the full display. Below it, we now have collections, starting with recent days. Gone are the library, For You, albums, and search buttons that used to exist at the bottom of the screen. The search button is now here at the top of the screen. To move into library view, we just need to swipe down. Now we can choose from the years, months, or all photos view. The days view that used to be here has been removed in favor of the recent days collection, which we can view again with a swipe up. Continue scrolling to view all of our visible collections. When we get to the bottom, there's a Customize and Reorder button. Tap on this, and we can hide and rearrange our collections. So here on the iPhone, I'm going to keep the recent days collection at the top. But I'm going to move the albums and media type collections up to directly under recent days. We can uncheck any of these to hide them. I'm going to hide the shared albums and the wallpaper suggestions. Now, directly below my library is recent days, then my albums and media types. Head back into the Customize and Reorder panel to unhide any collections, or we can tap Reset to return to the default arrangement. On the iPad, we're able to customize and reorder collections just like on iPhone. But unlike on iPhone, we have access to the Photos sidebar here on iPad. The sidebar already contains all the collections that are available here in the main viewer. That allows us to be more aggressive as far as how many collections we might want to hide here on the iPad. So I'm only going to keep media types, memories, and pinned collections. I'm going to hide everything else. That provides a simplified set of options here in the main viewer. If I want more, I can always just show the sidebar to access what I need. Notice that we're able to modify the pinned collections collection. So it's possible to access several preset collections here without needing to have them fully displayed in the Photos viewer. This is sort of like a home screen widget for photos within Photos. These changes might take a little bit to get used to, but overall I like the new look and the customization options. Learn much more about using the Photos app for iPhone, iPad, and Mac in our full tutorials available at themacu.com. In the Messages app, we can now schedule messages to automatically be sent at a certain date and time. If Drew has a birthday coming up, and Warren doesn't want to forget to send a happy birthday message on that day, he can schedule it now. So I'll enter a quick message here, then tap the plus button to bring up our iMessage apps, and in here we now have a Send Later option. Select this and we can then set the exact day and time for the message to be sent. Then tap the up arrow to confirm. Our conversation here in Messages can proceed as usual. The scheduled message is going to remain at the bottom of the conversation until it's sent. Tap the Edit button here to send the message immediately, edit the scheduled time, or just delete the message. To edit the content of the scheduled message, long press directly on it and then edit. Next, let's schedule a message over on Drew's iPhone to send in the next few minutes. Remember that we can rearrange our iMessage apps here with a tap, hold, and drag. I'll move the Send Later option up a little bit. Next, I'll schedule this to send in the next couple of minutes. When delivered, Warren receives it normally and is not made aware that it was a scheduled message. This is a convenient new feature in Messages that I've already used several times. Next up, we'll look at new text effects in Messages. When sending an iMessage, we're now able to apply text effects to all or only part of the message. In this first example, I'll just select the word effects. Then from the menu above, tap on Text Effects. Here across the top, we're able to apply a bold, italic, underline, or strike through style to the selected text. These options are not animated. The options below will animate about every 5 seconds after they're sent. I'll select the word animated and apply the explode effect. What's cool is we can select other parts of the message and apply a different effect to that word or phrase. So I'm going to apply a different animated text effect to each word in this message, and then send it to Warren. Tap back lets us quickly reply to a message by applying an emoji graphic to it. In iOS 18, the options for what we can use as a tapback expand greatly. We now have more colorful default tapback options here. Or tap this gray emoji symbol for access to every emoji, as well as all of our custom stickers. Then just tap to apply it as a tapback. To remove or edit the tapback, tap and hold on it, and then tap on the selected emoji or sticker to remove the tapback, or we can just select another one here to change it. Even our animated stickers will work as a tapback. For more on custom stickers, take a look at the What's New in iOS 17 tutorial from 2023. RCS, or Rich Communication Services, is now part of the Messages app on iPhone. RCS allows us to have iMessage-like features while messaging non-iPhone users, typically those on smartphones with the Android operating system. So rather than just basic SMS, which is the very old text message standard, when RCS is active, we're able to send higher quality photos and videos, audio messages, we're able to see read receipts and typing indicators. Group chats are able to be named, and members can be added or removed from a group chat without needing to start the group over each time. So if you're regularly messaging people that aren't also using an iPhone, RCS can make that experience much, much better. To make sure that RCS is active on your iPhone, go to Messages Settings and RCS Messaging. RCS won't automatically work on iPads and Macs like iMessage does. So text message forwarding needs to be activated for those devices that you want to use RCS messages with. When we're chatting with someone using the RCS standard, we're going to see RCS displayed in the message field, like so. For this to work, RCS needs to be activated on both ends of the conversation. If your iPhone has RCS activated, but you still see SMS in the message field of a conversation, then the person that you're talking to doesn't have RCS available or activated on their phone. Notice that RCS and SMS conversations will still have green bubbles here in messages. iMessage conversations will have a blue bubble, and the iMessage label will be in the message field. Last year with iOS 17, Apple added the ability to share your location via satellite if your iPhone was out of cellular range. With iOS 18, Apple is expanding that feature to allow for sending and receiving messages via satellite. This will only work on iPhone 14 models and later. On this iPhone 15 Pro, when it can't find a cellular connection, the satellite icon appears in the upper right. You also might receive an alert on your lock screen letting you know that messages via satellite is available. If I jump into the Messages app, a Use Messages via Satellite button will appear. Tap and the iPhone's going to begin searching for a satellite connection. To get a good connection, the more clear, unobstructed sky above you, the better. If you're in a canyon with high walls or under a thick forest canopy, the iPhone might struggle to find a satellite connection. This will also guide you as to which direction to point the iPhone for the best signal. There's no need to stretch the iPhone up in the air and search for the best connection. These satellites are hundreds of miles above you, so moving the iPhone a few feet closer isn't going to make a difference. So just hold it normally, and after a minute or so, we are connected. On this next screen, we can see all the 4 options that we now have for communicating via satellite: emergency SOS, roadside assistance, sharing your location via Find My, and now sending and receiving messages. So let's send a message to Warren. Notice here in the text field it lets me know that we're now sending via satellite. Other than that, it works the same as sending a message normally. We can include emoji and text effects in these messages, but we're not able to include any images or video. This also won't work within group texts. So I'll send that, and we can see the progress bar above as the message is sent up to the satellite. So when you're sending a message via satellite, don't press send and then immediately put your phone in your pocket. It's going to need longer than normal to send the message. After a few seconds, the sent badge is displayed here. Over on Warren's iPhone, the message comes through normally, but it does indicate that it was sent via satellite. This is going to work when sending to older iPhones or iPhones on iOS 17 or earlier, but the messages might be delivered as SMS texts rather than iMessages. This will also work when sending to non-Apple phones. I wasn't able to record a reply, but as long as the connection to the satellite is retained, replies to any of the messages that you sent via satellite will come through. However, even if other people are sending you texts while you're connected to a satellite, those will not appear until your iPhone returns to a normal cellular or Wi-Fi connection. We can only get replies from conversations that we initiate via satellite. This is done to prevent overloading the available satellites with messages. So utilizing messages via satellite in iOS 18 can be a great way to keep in touch with certain people when you're off the grid. There are a couple new features in the Notes app that have to do with formatting text. Let's start with collapsible sections. This will allow for a section of text to be hidden with a tap on a turn-down arrow. I have a sample set up here with 3 section titles, 1, 2, and 3. To make these sections collapsible, we need to format the section titles as a title, heading, or subheading from the Format button up here. Since my section titles are already entered, I'll need to select each first to format them. I'm going to assign the heading format to all 3. Now when we tap to select a title, a turn-down arrow appears to its left. Tap and we can collapse the section, which hides the content beneath the heading. Any content added beneath a heading that's formatted as body text will be collapsed within that heading. Of course, this can be done if we're typing a new note as well. Just format the section title or heading, tap Return to create a line break, then enter the body text for that section. When moving on to a new section, just remember to format the title, and collapsible sections will be added automatically. Next, we can now highlight selected text. Once your text is selected, tap the Format button, and in here we have a highlight button and next to it a color selector. If the currently selected color is the one that I want to use, then I can just tap on the highlight button here. If I want to select a different color, tap the Highlight Color Selection button here, and that's going to apply the new color to the highlight. Any style text can be highlighted, so we're able to highlight each section title if desired. And to remove a highlight, just select that text again and turn off the highlight from the Format panel. Another significant addition to Notes is live audio transcription. With this, we can record a presentation, meeting, or lecture as it's happening, and within Notes we'll end up with the audio recording and a text transcript of what was recorded. Let's start by recording a minute or two of this TED Talk. When I know she's about to begin the talk, I can tap the attachment button here in Notes and record audio. When ready, tap the record button here.
Hydrogen, that very first element on the periodic table. I'd use a laser to squeeze and compress that hydrogen until the atoms
While recording,
fuse.
tap here to view the live transcription.
Fusion. And it's the same laser. We could actually create miniature stars right here on Earth. Pretty cool.
And to return to your note while the recording continues, just swipe down.
But why? Why do we care to do this?
This allows me to add to the note as the recording occurs.
Fusion means bringing together the atoms of a light element until
tap the recording to jump back into that interface.
There are isotopes of hydrogen, heavy hydrogen.
And I'm going to pause the recording now.
Lasers to get what we
Back in the transcript, we're able to tap anywhere here to begin listening back to that part of the talk.
Fusion means unlocking a different kind of nuclear power. Instead of splitting big, heavy...
With playback paused, tap and hold on the transcript to select a certain section of the text. This can then be copied and added into our note, or really anywhere we want to paste it. From the ellipsis button, we can move the entire transcript into the note, or copy the entire transcript to paste it elsewhere. We're also able to search the text of the transcript for a specific word or phrase.
To squeeze and compress that hydrogen until the atoms themselves fuse.
Here we have the option to move the audio recording out of Notes and save it to our Files app if needed. We can also share only the audio. Having a full transcript of a meeting or lecture that's editable and searchable is going to be extremely useful for a lot of iPad and iPhone users. Live audio transcription does require an iPhone 12 or newer and an iPad with an A14 Bionic processor or newer. Basically, this means a 2020 or newer iPad. Scheduled reminders can now be viewed, edited, and created from the iOS Calendar app. Let's start in the Reminders app on my iPhone. Currently, there are 7 scheduled reminders. These are going to be the only reminders that appear over in Calendar. Jump into All Reminders, and we can see that scheduled reminders have a date and time displayed below them. Here in the Project section, I have a couple standard reminders which aren't going to be displayed in my calendar. Same goes for the grocery list here in Reminders. Now let's head into the Calendar app. In the Today view, we are able to see the production meeting reminder. Reminders in Calendar will appear with a circle to the left of their name that we can tap to mark the reminder as complete. Calendar events won't have this circle. Tap and hold on a reminder here in Calendar, and we're able to mark it as complete, show it in the Reminders app, or delete it. Deleting the reminder is going to remove it from both Calendar and Reminders. When we're adding a new event in Calendar, either by tapping the plus button up here or by tapping and holding on an empty area of the calendar, we're now able to choose to create a scheduled reminder rather than a calendar event. Doing this will add the reminder to both apps. Over on my iPad, scheduled reminders appear in every calendar view except Year. Tap the circle next to a reminder to mark it as completed. We can also add new scheduled reminders in iPad Calendar with a tap on the Reminder tab here. Notice that from the Calendars panel on iPhone or iPad, we can choose to show or hide our completed reminders. With this turned off, when I tap a reminder as completed, it will be removed from my calendar. This provides a single place to see everything that's scheduled for your day or week, whether that's calendar events or scheduled reminders. For more details on how to use both the Calendar and Reminders app, take a look at our individual tutorials for each of those. In Freeform, we can now add scenes, which can make navigating large boards with a lot of content quite a bit easier. This board has 4 distinct areas of content. To move between each one currently, I have to tap and drag around the board. If I save each section of the board as a scene, it's going to be a lot less effort to move between them. On the iPad, scenes will exist in the lower left corner, next to the zoom indicator and controls. To add a new scene, first zoom into the section of the board that you want to save as a scene. Then tap here to add a new one. The area is quickly outlined in blue and saved in the scenes list here. Tap on the ellipsis button to give the scene a name. I'll call this one Images. Let's move to another section of the board and add a second scene. I'll rename this one Sketches. Now with two scenes on this board, we can use the Scene Navigator here to select a scene to jump directly to it. Or use the arrow buttons here to move between all the scenes on the board. Let's open up that same board on the iPhone. To add a scene on iPhone, we need to start from the ellipsis button here in the upper right. Then Add New Scene, or open the Scene Navigator. With this visible, we can jump between existing scenes or add a new one. I'm going to add two more scenes to this board. Once those are saved, we can quickly move from scene to scene on either device. Rather than moving between areas somewhat aimlessly, utilizing scenes lets us quickly jump from area to area within a board. Scenes can be deleted with a simple swipe left here in Scene Navigator. Deleting a scene doesn't remove any content from your board. Also from Scene Navigator, we're able to print or save individual scenes as a PDF. This basically takes a screenshot of the scene and converts it to a PDF for simple sharing. Of course, if you want to share entire boards, that can be done from the Share button up here. Learn much more about what the Freeform app is and what it does in our full tutorial. In Safari, we have a couple new features that can make web pages and the information within them easier to find and take in. This will present a paragraph summary of some web pages, or it can show a quick map view if we're on a page that features a location. Highlights won't be available on every page that you visit in Safari. When a highlight is available, the reader icon up here in the address bar will gain a couple purple stars. When the page loads, we're also informed up here momentarily. Tap on the Reader button, and for this page, we're presented a text summary of its content. From here, we have the option to have the full text on the page read back to us, or we can show the page in Reader View. Tap on the Reader button again to adjust things like the background color, font, and text size. Next, let's move to a hotel web page. When I reload this, we're alerted that its location is available as a highlight, and the purple stars are displayed. Tap, and what we're shown is pretty much just this hotel's entry from Apple Maps. Tap, and we jump into the Maps app. The same sort of highlight is available on this web page for a dentist's office. In this page that contains a news article, we don't have a highlight. Only Reader View is available for this article. It would be nice if this article were summarized as a highlight. I would think that over time the highlight feature will work more and more on different pages with a variety of content. Also from the Reader button, we now have a Hide Distracting Items button. This can remove sections of a web page that are distracting or simply annoying. On this page, tap Hide Distracting Items, and then we just need to tap on the section of the page that we want to hide. In this case, I'm going to hide the sidebar here on the right because it contains this distracting video that autoplays. Tap on that area, then tap Hide to remove it. We can attempt to hide ads as well, but this feature is not designed as an ad blocker. Often ads are going to be reloaded and reappear. Be sure to tap Done to return to normal browsing. Now we're able to view that page without the distracting sidebar. On this page, we have an annoying video that pops up, so we can hide that. But overall, this page is so cluttered with ads, it's going to be much easier to just view it in Reader View. And from Reader View, we're able to see the summary of the page, and this article is actually automatically broken down into a table of contents that we can tap on to jump to that part of the article. So far, I've only found a couple articles where the automatic table of contents in Reader actually appears. So again, hopefully that will become more and more common as time goes on. For more on how to use Reader View and other Safari features, take a look at the full tutorial on Safari for iOS and Mac. In a major addition to Apple Maps in iOS 18 and macOS Sequoia, we now have access to pre-saved hikes in national parks, and we gain the ability to create our own custom hiking or walking routes. Let's start on the iPad. Here I have the Many Glacier area of Glacier National Park visible in Maps. As I zoom in, notice that we have several trailheads that are marked. Tap on a trailhead for directions to it. But we also have some pre-saved hikes available from this trailhead. If I tap on the Cracker Lake hike, the map will zoom out to display that entire trail. In the panel to the left, we can see the mileage of the hike along with the elevation gain and loss. Below that, we can again get directions to the trailhead or tap Add to Library to save the route. We're able to edit the name, add a description, and download the route to our device before saving it. Having it downloaded to the device will allow us to see the map details even if we don't have a cellular connection available at the start or during our hike. I'll tap Done and save that hike. It's now available in the Route section of our Maps library, which is going to sync with your other Apple devices as long as Maps is activated in iCloud settings on each device. Rather than just relying on pre-saved hikes in the Maps app, we're also able to create our own custom routes and save those to our library as well. If I'm starting from the Cracker Lake trailhead again, and know that I want to hike to Upper Grinnell Lake, I can tap on the trailhead and then Create Custom Route. Now I just need to tap periodically along the route that I want to take. So I'll tap to add a couple points on the way to Upper Grinnell Lake. Notice that there's also an undo button here, so if a mistake is made, we can easily move back step by step. As points are added, the distance and elevation gain are displayed. In this case, one way from the trailhead to the lake is about 5.5 miles, with around 2,300 feet of elevation gain. With these buttons above, we're able to reverse the direction of the hike, which in this case would display the route coming down from Upper Grinnell Lake to the Cracker Lake trailhead. Next, we could make this an out and back hike, which means it will complete the route by going right back the same way that we came. That then shows the entire distance and elevation changes. Zoom in on the trail a bit and we can see this double arrow, letting us know that we'll be on this trail going both directions. Choosing the closed loop option in this case will give us the same route as the out and back option did. If I'd rather not do just the out and back route, it's possible to go back a step or two and then continue adding points on the way back. So I could continue this hike to go to the main Grinnell Lake, then up the valley a bit more, and loop back down towards Cracker Lake Trailhead. Add a point near there, and then tap Close Loop to complete the route. Tap Save and this custom route can be downloaded and saved to My Routes. This will sync over to my iPhone, and from my routes collection, it can then be downloaded on that device as well. We don't need to be in a national park to create custom hiking routes like this. Here in Maps on my iPhone, there's a trailhead right here in my neighborhood that we can create a custom route from. Just tap to add points, and I could make a quick loop here. It's also possible to make a larger loop and include streets in the route. And actually, we don't even need to be at a designated trailhead. Tap and hold anywhere on the map to mark the location. Then from the More button, we have the Custom Route option. I could then plot out a walk around this neighborhood and save that as a custom route. So this can be a really great feature for finding or creating your own hikes, or just mapping out a quick walking route around your neighborhood. At long last, we now have a built-in calculator app on iPad. The built-in calculator has been available on iPhone for many, many years. In iOS 18, the calculator now works on both devices, and it adds a significant new feature called Math Notes, which we'll cover in the next lesson. So let's take a look at the iPad calculator. First, it can be used in portrait or landscape orientation. With this button in the lower left, we're able to switch between the basic calculator, the scientific calculator, and Math Notes. While using the basic or scientific calculator, we can activate a conversion tool. This allows us to convert a wide range of units, including currency, temperature, time, weights, and many more. I'll do a seconds to minutes conversion. We can enter different values for the top item and see the conversion below. Tap over here to swap the values. We can even add up values in the top row and display their converted total below. Tap in the upper left to view the sidebar. This will display recent calculations that can be tapped on to return to, or swipe left to copy the value or delete it. Tap the Edit button up here to select multiple calculations to remove, or we can delete the entire list. Next up, we'll look at how to use the new Math Notes feature on iPad and iPhone. Math Notes is an interesting new feature that's available in both the Calculator app and the Notes app on both iPad and iPhone. It lets us write out math expressions that can then be solved and displayed automatically. Let's start here on the iPad with a simple math problem. I'll be writing this out using my Apple Pencil, but using just your finger is going to work as well. I'll enter 87 divided by 196. As I write an equal sign, that is then solved for me. Tap and drag on the box handles to adjust the size of the expression, or duplicate it or delete it. I'm going to duplicate this, and then use my eraser to change the second number here. And that change will then be reflected in the result. If we need to adjust one of these numbers by a small amount, we can single tap on it, Then tap and drag on the slider that appears above. As I drag, the result is adjusted as well. Next, let's write out a simple equation that can be displayed on a graph. I'll enter y equals x plus 2.5. We then get the option to insert a graph that can be resized and moved around. The figures can be changed by hand using the eraser and then rewriting the number, or by using the slider method as we did in the previous example. These math expressions and graphs can be much more advanced, as we see in this example. Next, let's jump over to the iPhone and create a new math note. Here I'm just going to type in a series of numbers and add them up. As they're written out, the total is displayed in orange. We can add, remove, or edit any of the numbers entered, which will instantly be reflected in the result. We can still hand write out expressions here on the iPhone. It will just need to be done with your finger rather than an Apple Pencil. All our math notes are synced between our devices, so we can open and edit these on an iPhone, iPad, or Mac. We're also able to view and create math notes from the Notes app. Notice here in the sidebar that we have a Math Notes section. From here, we can write out or type out expressions, just like we were able to from the Calculator app. In this next example, I have a list of items and what they cost. The key here is to have a name and an equal sign included for each. Below, we could enter some or all the names and add them up. This can be done by typing out or writing out the names. So MathNotes provides a variety of options for writing out calculations or equations that can be solved and visualized for you on both iPhone and iPad. Our home and work addresses can now be included as locations in the iOS weather app. For this to work, we first need to have those addresses saved in the My Card entry of your Contacts app. In here, we can see that I have a home and work address saved. Next, we need to jump into Settings for the Weather app. So I'll head into Settings, down to Apps and Weather. In here, the Home and Work Locations toggle needs to be activated. Also be sure that Location Services is activated for weather, while using the app should be turned on at minimum. Jump into the Weather app now, and when searching to add a new location, my home and work addresses are suggested and can be added to the list of weather locations. Each location has a home or work label here in the weather list and when it's expanded. In this Tidbits lesson, we're going to cover several more minor new iOS 18 features that don't require their own separate lesson. First, in the Settings app, we now have an Apps folder that contains settings for all the apps that are installed on that device. These were formerly all listed on one large settings page. In the Apps folder, we have an alphabetical list. Swipe down for the search field, which can really speed up finding the app that you need here. In the Files app, we can now make sure that a file or folder always remains downloaded. So if you happen to be offline and need to access an important file, you know it's going to be available. If a file has this download from the cloud icon next to it, that's telling us that it's not saved to this device. Tap and hold on the file, and we now have a Keep Downloaded option. Just tap and it's permanently saved on this device. The same can be done with a folder, which will keep everything within it downloaded to the device. The dark circle with a down arrow icon means that item is downloaded to this device. When using the flashlight on newer iPhones, we're now able to control the beam width rather than just the brightness. Swipe side to side to adjust the beam width, and up and down to adjust the brightness. On a home screen, we can quickly convert an icon to a widget or vice versa. Just tap and hold on an app icon or widget, then select the widget option in this panel. I'm going to switch the music app icon to a medium widget. Then I'll do the same to switch it back to a normal app icon. Finally, we have something called visual motion cues, which in theory can prevent or reduce motion sickness when using an iPhone or iPad in a moving vehicle. To activate this, we need to go into the Motion section of Accessibility Settings and turn on Show Vehicle Motion Cues. When this is activated, a series of dots are overlaid on the display. As the device moves around as it might in a vehicle, the dots will move over the display in relation to that motion. The motion cues can be quickly activated or deactivated from Control Center now. I've not been able to test whether this really does prevent motion sickness, but if that's something that prevents you from using your iPhone or iPad while riding in a car or on a plane, this might be a great new feature.